be impacting your area, and that is bringing with it about 80-mile-an-hour wind gusts on the high end. And we'll have to keep an eye on this line of thunderstorm activity. If we get a little rotation in there, if we can pull up our rotation tool, you might be able to see just about where we might be looking for that tornadic threat within all of this. So we got multiple threats that we're tracking, and I just want to emphasize it's a wall of wind that's coming through, and then we have that possible rotation within that line. You can see that maybe there's some hints of that right near Galena when it comes to that tornadic threat, right within there. Again, it's not showing up quite as bright on the radar, but that's one area of concern that I'm kind of keeping an eye on. And then, north of Savannah, maybe there's another area of rotation in here. Usually we see some reds and greens popping up against each other, and this might be moving away from one radar, so it's not showing up quite as crisp, but this is the spot that we really have to watch out for that possible tornadic activity. So north of Savannah and right near Galena for those two tornadoes. And then on top of that, we got all the wind heading our way, gusts up to about 70, 80 miles per hour with this thunderstorm activity. So, as we look at the overall picture, I'll give you that timing ahead. And really, there's a lot of warnings to keep an eye on. So wanted to make sure that spots outside of those warnings are at least aware of what's heading your way. So Lena at about, next 20, 25 minutes. Freeport again, give it to about 1:45, and that's when you'll probably see those strong winds into your area. Rockford sometime between 7:05 to 7:20, and then heading towards Lake Geneva, DeKalb, a little closer towards the end of the hour or closer to 8 o'clock. So multiple threats up and down this line of thunderstorm activity heading your way. So make sure that you're, again, getting to that basement. We're not going to mess around with this line of storms and say like, all right, if you're in a super thunderstorm, you're going to do this. If you're in a tornado, you're going to do this. Just get to the basement. That's the main thing that we want to see ahead here as we progress through the course of this evening, is that line of thunderstorm activity is going to bring with it not just tornadoes itself, but also those wind gusts up to about 70, 80 miles per hour. So multiple threats that we're tracking within this line of activity. Overall, still under a watch, so even if you're outside of the warnings, you got to be ready for all of this. Really take care and keep an eye on us over the rest of this evening. You look at Future Track, that has, as you can see, pretty good timing on all of this. So here we are at about 7:30, give it about another hour, and it's right over I-39. So that thing is going to be moving along fast. You're not going to have quite as much reaction time here. So as soon as you get an alert on your phone, that weather radio goes off in your house, move to the basement. Whether it's a severe thunderstorm warning or a tornado warning, get down to the basement because of that hurricane force wind gust action that's heading towards us. That all should be out by about 8:30. So that's, I guess, the plus side with all of this. It's moving along so fast that we don't have to necessarily worry about it lingering around for a while. Yes, it's going to be a wall of wind, but it's in and out in quite a hurry, and then we should have a somewhat quieter night ahead. So let's go back to some of the safety information again. If you're under that tornado warning in Joe Daviess County, you are going to want to make sure that you're down below into the basement as quickly as you can and stay there. So we haven't issued the all clear yet, so if you can hear us and you're in Joe Daviess County, just make sure, again, you're staying below ground. And if you're in a mobile home, exit that immediately. If you know someone out driving on US 20, call them, tell them to either pull over and get down into a ditch if they're within that warned area, or if it's coming towards them, tell them to pull over in a safe spot and seek shelter from then, and then cover up with blankets, spike helmets, that kind of thing. Now, if you're not under a tornado warning right now, but you still have that threat for severe thunderstorms coming along, start compiling all of this gear, get to that safe spot, or start to make sure that you're ready to head in that direction at a moment's notice. Yes, we're not necessarily looking at tornado damage, but hurricane force winds may be enough to knock over trees and definitely do some damage to your house. You're going to want to get down to the basement too and away from those windows, and that includes Stevenson County, that includes Greene County, that includes Whiteside County. Those are the spots that need to be down into shelter right now. We'll highlight those in just a second here. So again, this is all the warnings that we see currently. If you're in orange, and that's basically from Whiteside County to Greene County, including Stevenson County and Freeport. Severe thunderstorm warnings for you. They're going to be in effect for at least another 20 minutes, and that's for those considerable wind threats. Then we're pinpointing those tornadoes. Those are still currently over Joe Daviess County. We are looking at rotation within that line of thunderstorm activity that could produce tornadoes essentially over Galena and right outside Elizabeth over the rest of this evening, and that's going to be at least over the next half an hour or so. So with all of that, you can see there's a lot of lightning, plenty of wind right towards Stockton, not under a tornado warning yet, but you're under that severe thunderstorm warning, so that's heading towards you. And if we kind of pan south here on the radar, I want to at least show off all the activity that could be moving towards Whiteside County too. You can see that, we've got actually a tornado warning into Whiteside County. Brand new information there. So that's just to the south of Prophetstown. If we can get, 7 o'clock, that is when that warning expires. And I can even just see it on radar right in here. There's this nice little kink, some inflow right near Geneseo. That will be then heading its way into the southern end of Whiteside County. If anything, it might be kind of hard to see just because you see those streaks there, those bright pinks? That is considerable wind gust action coming out with this storm. So there's a lot of wind built up within this line of activity. And of course, there's a little bit of a kink, a little bit of rotation within that line. So even if you don't end up with that tornado there, you are looking at, again, a lot of wind heading towards the Whiteside County area. So Sterling Rock Falls, get down to that basement. Just treat this like a tornado, if anything, because of that line of wind coming through. Here's some of the timing on that tornado warning again into southern Whiteside County. It'll hit Sterling a little after 7 o'clock if it holds together. Same for just the line of thunderstorm activity in general. Now, everywhere else, again, we are looking at that activity to be into the region. As you can see, it's across the Mississippi. It's working through Joe Davis to Whiteside counties, multiple tornadoes, at least tornado warnings there. That'll be sliding along and eastward at about 70 miles per hour. So it'll be, again, into Freeport within the next 15 to 20 minutes. Oregon a little after 7. Same for Rockford, closer to 7:20, and Lake Geneva by about 8 o'clock or so. So that's the updated timing on this particular thunderstorm line that's working on through our locale. So if you just let me kind of set up my little mobile workstation here just for a second, I want to make sure I'm keeping an eye on some of the latest severe thunderstorm threats with all of this activity. But overall, we are watching this closely because it's not just the tornado threat. It's not just the rotation that's kind of coming within that effect. And you can see that we got a brand new area of rotation heading towards Bureau County. You had a tornado warning not too long ago, so that is something to keep an eye on in that area too. But it's the wind threat, as you can see, that will be an issue over the rest of this evening on top of that tornado threat. So hopefully, if you got that warning, you're getting down to the basement right now if you're in Freeport, if you're in Monroe. Up next, again, Dixon, Oregon, Rockford, kind of next within that line of thunderstorm activity. That will be a little after about 7 o'clock. So still got, in fact, we got some fresh timing on there. Looks like Rockford, again, still about 7:20. You're looking at Janesville at about 7:22. Freeport about 6:52. Dixon at 7 o'clock. And I know there's some communities in between there, but you can see how long this line of thunderstorm activity is. It essentially stretches all the way down towards Peoria, and it's also rooted into southern Wisconsin. So we will, if anything, if we can kind of zoom in on, hopefully we can just get this little area here on screen. So let's zoom in nice and tight and then try to expand that timing out for those folks that are kind of stuck in between some of what we've shown so far when it comes to the track on all this. Definitely thanks for that information. So we're going to take this bit by bit down this line for some of the communities in between. So Stockton, 6:35, Lena, 7:45, Freeport at about 6:52, Rock Run, 7:02, Pecatonica, 7:05, Winnebago, 7:10. That is for the northern end of this storm. Now, I know that some of you might not be under that warning yet, but we want to make sure that you are aware that this still could hold together as it works its way past Freeport. So giving you as much heads up as possible as these move along. So yes, I know Ogle and Lee, you're not under that warning yet, but I want to make sure you're ready just in case. So this is for the storms moving out of Whiteside County. They would be into Dixon at about 7 o'clock, Franklin Grove at about 7:08, Compton at about 7:20. So, and Sterling, you're right up next in about 10 to 15 minutes with all of that. So that is, again, that little stretch there. And if we can go kind of right in between, going towards Ogle County and Winnebago County, those are the locations we haven't quite covered just yet, but we're going to get fresh timing for you. Again, this is moving along at like 70 miles per hour. It will be into your area very fast. So that's why I want to make sure you're getting that extra lead time because, and I haven't mentioned it in a little bit, 70-mile-an-hour wind gusts or greater. So that is near hurricane strength. That is enough to knock trees over. So we want to make sure we give you plenty of lead time. Plus, you can see that we've got multiple tornadoes up and down this line. Anyway, When it comes to timing, Polo about 6:55, Mount Moore 7 o'clock, Stillman Valley 7:15, Rockford at about 7:20. So, if you heard some of your communities listed, or if you're, right nearby or right in between, that is, gives you at least an approximate idea of when this wall of wind will be heading your way. And it's definitely got a lot of wind to it. We've got potentially gusts up to about 60, 70 miles per hour within all of this activity. So, just making sure I'm kind of keeping an eye on things here. About Forreston and Dixon, you're looking at, about 7 o'clock too when it comes to all of that. So we will, continue to monitor this situation. In fact, brand new information here from the National Weather Service. So new alerts. Very interesting that this little corner of Stevenson County got cut off. So we're going to hold it right here. I'm anticipating a tornado warning to get extended into Ogle County, but that's a different forecast office. So I'm wondering if that's why it's only catching a little sliver of Stevenson County. But yeah, brand new tornado warning out for Carroll County into Stevenson County and far northern Whiteside County. We can kind of zoom in on, this area here just to kind of see what it might be near. It'd be near Wysox and Lanark, and then again far southern Stevenson County. So that's south of Freeport, but it would be near German Valley. You're under that tornado warning until 7 p.m. So with a tornado warning, we'll go through the safety slide again. A tornado warning means get down to the basement as quickly as you can. If you don't have a basement, get out of your mobile home or get to the lowest floor. Get to a closet, get to a bathroom, put as many walls between you and the outside as possible as that slides along. So that is what we want you to do right now. If you're in far southern Stevenson County, all of Carroll County, and now sections of Whiteside County, those are the spots impacted by that brand new tornado warning that just got issued from the National Weather Service, and that again is until 7 o'clock. And again, we're getting a little clip of southern Stevenson County here, so I'm kind of curious if that's going to extend down into Ogle County too. We'll have to kind of wait to see what the National Weather Service thinks with that as they provide updates. So if we can go to radar, we'll see what we can pull up when it comes to the rotation on all of this. You can see that we've got a lot of activity sliding along here and all sorts of different warnings. So even if you're not under a tornado warning, if you're under a severe thunderstorm warning, and that's basically all of Greene, all of Stevenson, all of Carroll counties, that is for wind gusts potentially up to 70 miles per hour. So make sure that you are, again, getting down to the basement right now. And I've got a little mobile workstation set up here, so I'm just kind of keeping an eye on some of the different chat rooms from the National Weather Service to get additional information when it comes to these latest warnings that just got issued. So we're pulling up our rotation tool, and basically what we're looking for is some bright reds and bright greens, and you can see that's highlighted there. Thanks for putting those arrows on. That is a good spot for rotation. That is about where we could have a tornado, and again, that could extend up to southern Stevenson County. If we can get it all the way down to street level there and see where that might be on top of and who could be up next with all that, I'd definitely appreciate it. Pull the rotation tool back up, and I will pull up a different chat room here. Just make sure that I'm staying all the way up to speed when it comes to the severe weather information. So again, this is where we potentially could have that rotation, that brand new tornado warning, which extends into southern Stevenson County. So this is just south of Highway 52, south of Mount Carroll, and we'll get this cross section in just 1 second here. But I want to, update you on the timing of where this could go. It'll be into Lanark within the next 10 minutes. So right now, that is a kind of seeing here. I'm kind of losing one of the. Here we go. Pulling up some of the information on this just to see, again, if this is a radar indicated threat, if there's anything currently on the ground with this. So that is radar indicated. Okay, still, radar's showing tight rotation. It could drop a tornado at any second. Again, it'll be into the Lanark area within the next about 10 minutes or so. And then if it holds together, it'll be heading towards Forreston and Freeport a little after 7 o'clock. So radar indicated, you saw how bright that was on our rotation tools. What we're looking for is those bright colors showing winds moving towards and away from the radar, and that's what's catching my eye right now. That could be where a possible tornado is, south of Mount Carroll and Highway 52. If we could almost zoom in, just kind of catch some of this cross-highway action, let people know just about where that intersection is. So that's Highway Illinois 58 and 52, or 78, excuse me, 78 and Highway 52. That's where we see some possible rotation on radar, and that is where a tornado threat could be as it works its way towards Lanark and then heading towards spots like Forreston a little after 7 o'clock. So that is the brand new tornado warning that we see that extends into southern Stevenson County. Now, on top of all this, we still have severe thunderstorm warnings out for sections of Stevenson County and into Whiteside County. So these are for winds potentially up to 70, even 80 miles per hour all the way towards Greene County here. So we've got multiple threats that we're tracking. If we kind of go back on the radar to those spots in Joe Daviess County, we don't want to forget about you either. Those locations are still under a tornado warning for at least the next 5 to 15 minutes. If anything, those storms have moved past you, so I'm a little curious to see if some of these warnings are going to drop off over the course of the rest of this evening. But if anything, the danger is right over Stockton, and that is for, again, severe wind gusts potentially up to about 80 miles per hour or so. So that is enough to, knock over trees and power lines and things like that. If anything, we're seeing a lot of wind action right south of Stockton. That is an area of concern. So basically south of US 20, right near Stockton. If anything, do we have a brand new tornado warning?
I believe we do.
All right, brand new tornado warning out for the Stockton area, and we just highlighted that for you. So that spot that caught our eye, that is for a brand new tornado warning that is in effect until 7:30. Severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado located over the Stockton Airport, about 15 miles north of Mount Carroll, moving northeast at about 35 miles per hour. So that at least has slowed down some. We continue to see all sorts of different wind threats here, possibly 70, 80 mile an hour wind gusts within all of this. But that, again, brand new tornado warning out for Stockton and towards Lena. So this is not only Joe Daviess County, but now heading into Stevenson County until 7:30. So we've got that out for about another 45 minutes. Let's go to the safety slide. Anytime we got a new tornado warning, we want to make sure we're emphasizing this. So brand new tornado warning, Stockton, Lena, spots that are kind of right in between. Get down to your storm shelter as quickly as possible. So this is, your basement. This is putting as many walls between you and the outside as possible. If you're in a mobile home, get out of that and get to your designated storm shelter as this moves along. So those are the actions we want you to take right now. If you can, cover up with blankets, cover up with bike helmets. Make sure that you're protecting yourself from flying debris, because not only do we have that tornado threat, all that rotating wind, we've got that wall of wind, that squall line coming along with hurricane force wind gusts. So, you don't necessarily have to be under tornado warning to be under that severe storm threat. So let's do a bit of a reset here. Let's look at the whole picture, because again, we've got multiple things that we're tracking. And here's a good look at it. If we could put a pause on the radar just to kind of calm down the image just a little bit. But basically, I'm tracking a wall of wind stretching from Monroe to Concord. You're looking at 80 mile an hour wind gusts extending out ahead of this line of thunderstorm activity. That, again, is hurricane force. It's not quite into Dixon. It's not quite into Ogle County yet. Not quite to Freeport, but that's what's up next. And then within all of this, we've got a couple possible tornadoes, one right near Stockton and one heading towards Lanark. We saw some rotation on radar, and then south of Sterling, there was a third area of rotation. So we're going to go through those one by one. We'll go north to south first. So again, this is the new one in. This is Stockton heading towards Lena and Winslow. If anything, it's right in between Pleasant Valley and Stockton. That's where that possible rotation is right now. And I believe that's Illinois 78, right where it's located, kind of south of US 20. It'll be heading towards Lena and Winslow then, not necessarily too quickly, but we are looking at that to track into your location over the next 35 to 40 minutes or so. So as I kind of pull up some of the warning information there we go. We got timing on this, Lena, at about 10 minutes from now. So if you're not in your basement already and you're watching us in Lena, you got 10 minutes. That's it. Get to that safe spot as quickly as you can. It'll be into Winslow at about 7 o'clock. All right, let's now move our way southwards. So when it comes to that activity closer towards Lanark. We have a confirmed tornado over Mount Carroll. So we'll just kind of keep shouting out information as we see that coming in. But again, confirmed tornado over Mount Carroll. There it is. Let's get down tight on that guy just to the north of Mount Carroll or right over it. So that is, again, confirmed tornado that'll head towards Lanark, towards Shannon after all of this. We're seeing at least some signs on radar here when it comes to possible rotation or that actual rotation. If anything, it's this whole area right in here really starting to see a lot of swirling winds. So this is north of Highway 50 heading towards Mount Carroll, and that'll be working its way towards Lanark and Shannon here in just a little bit. I think we just saw a brand new warning got issued, so we'll check that out in just 1 second. All right, severe thunderstorm warning. We'll go back to the warning slide in a second here. Severe thunderstorm warning with considerable wind damage possible for Lee, Ogle, and Winnebago counties. Got a little buzz on my watch that's synced with my phone, which is synced to the 13 Weather Authority app, and there it is. We're getting that extension down the line of a considerable wind threat. Now it's heading towards Rockford. Now it's heading towards Ogle County. Now it's heading towards Dixon, again at about between now and 8 o'clock. Straight line wind gusts of 70 miles per hour likely, so that is up to hurricane strength, possibly seeing some tornado spin-ups in there, moving very quickly to the northeast. And I know earlier on this afternoon, these storms were moving at like 60 to 80 miles per hour. That's outside of the thunderstorm wind gust itself, so we're looking at about 65 miles per hour. That's how fast these guys are moving along. So not only do we have, and again, I'll look here, potentially 70-mile-an-hour wind gusts is the main round of damage, or the main type of damage. So if you're in orange, and that is all of, again, Winnebago, Ogle, and Lee counties, and Greene County, wind gusts up to 70 miles per hour. That is hurricane strength. And then we've got those possible tornadoes here. One, apparently a tornado on the ground near Mount Carroll, and another right outside of the Stockton area. That is rotation indicated. You can see all sorts of rotation indication in Whiteside County, too. Multiple threats here. So what we want to make sure that you do, whether it's a severe thunderstorm warning, whether it's a tornado warning, get down to the basement right now, because you got hurricane force wind gusts, you got that tornado threat, multiple things that we're tracking. So whether it's, again, severe thunderstorm warning or tornado warning, get to that storm shelter as quickly as possible. That also means get out of the mobile home. And if you don't have a basement and you're not in a mobile home, lowest floor possible. Put as many walls between you and the outside as possible, too. So those are the threats that we're tracking as we see them. So we'll, again, do a bit of a reset here. We'll look at the overall warning map and kind of take things one by one. We are looking at... I was wondering about that. They were going to fill in Stevenson County, too. So now we got Stevenson County included into that severe thunderstorm warning. We've got that stretching all the way to the I-39 corridor. Multiple tornado warnings. So this is why I want you down to that basement. It's not just the hurricane force wind gusts highlighted in orange here, but as that line of storms arrives, we've got tornadoes embedded within that line of thunderstorm activity. So you've got multiple threats, which is why, if you get to the basement right now, you're safe from all of this. That's the action I want you to take currently. Let's get back over to radar. Let's start to track those tornadoes out. So we're going to go with the one over Mount Carroll first. I think that because it's been confirmed, we want to make sure that we are staying up to speed on that particular storm because, again, we've got a confirmed tornado. It's definitely observed, and it looks like there is possibly an observed tornado near Rock Falls, too. I'm seeing possibly multiple tornadoes on the ground. We'll see if we can get some confirmation on that, but the tornado warnings near Rock Falls as well. There is a tornado observed in that location. So as we pull up the radar tool here, all sorts of wind. If anything, I'm seeing possibly some rotation there, kind of near Mount Pleasant, Sterling. And you can see how we've got these little, inflows within this line of thunderstorm activity. So these little kinks are just a little bit of spin-ups that are producing tornadoes. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a large tornado, but you see how bright these colors are too. That is 70, possibly 80-mile-an-hour wind gusts. So again, when I talk about a wall of wind, that is hurricane force wind gusts heading towards us. And then within that, you get these little kinks going. That is possibly some tornadic activity. You can see, again, there's that little bit of kind of bend in the radar there. So those are the spots, again, in Whiteside County when it comes to all of that activity. Let's go now to the north. let's check out spots into Carroll County, because again, had a little report here of an observed tornado possibly right near Lanark. There's all sorts of rotation and spinning within this thunderstorm activity. So that spot too, we want to make sure that we're keeping a close eye on because of that possibly observed tornado. Now, if we can get some timing on all of that as we get it closer towards Forreston and everything. There we go. Thank you. You're looking at it into Florence at about 7:04, Freeport at about 7:09, right out at about 7:16. So those are the spots that we could be seeing that rotation and that tornado activity heading towards up next. And now let's go one more time to the north. This is over, again, Stockton heading towards Lena and Winslow. I know this one was only moving at about 35 miles per hour, so not quite as fast, but we are getting that traveling down US 20. If you know someone driving on US 20, and they're heading towards, Stockton, tell them to turn around, get back to Freeport if they have time. If not, get them to pull over into a ditch and hunker down. Again, call them up if you know someone driving on US 20. So those are the different tornado warnings as we see them. Moving along to the north, it'd be into Wadhams Grove at about 7 o'clock, Winslow at about 7:05, and then crossing the state line into southern Wisconsin from there to Oneko at about 7:11. So those are the three tornado warnings that we have currently. We will definitely be trying to keep up on them as much as we can, but there is this whole line of wind heading towards us. You're looking at possibly gusts up to 70 miles per hour or greater, extending all the way to I-39, and these storms are moving at about 65, 70 miles per hour on their own. So that means you don't have a ton of time to get down to that sheltered spot as we look towards the rest of this evening. So timing here, Freeport, within the next 5 minutes, I expect that line of wind to head towards you. Rochelle at about 7:20, DeKalb at about 7:37, and if you're watching us in Aurora, 8 o'clock, this is moving fast, so that's why, you got an hour to prepare because it's going to be on top of you within about an hour, be into Monroe in about 10 minutes or so. So that's the latest timing on all of this activity. So we've got, again, multiple things that we are tracking. We're tracking multiple hazards here when it comes to wind gusts up to 70, 80 miles per hour. We also have the possibility of a tornadic activity within all of this. If we could go back to the warning slide, just to kind of give a good picture of what we see when it comes to just the straight up warnings outside of the radar. And that gives you a good indication of just all the locations that could be impacted with all of this. Tornado warnings, again, Joe Davies into Stevenson County, Carroll County, Whiteside County. We'll have to see if those get extended. Spots that are under a severe thunderstorm warning all the way to I-39. So you're looking at Rockford, you're looking at Byron, you're looking at Shabana, you're looking at Franklin Grove. You're under that warning until about 8 o'clock because as this line of storms comes through, 70 miles per hour or greater, wind gusts up to about hurricane strength. So those are the threats that we want to make sure that you are aware of and tracking as you head to your basement. This is why we want you to get to your basement, because 80-mile-an-hour wind gusts, 70-mile-an-hour wind gusts, that's enough to knock down trees. That is hurricane strength, and that definitely could do some damage in a hurry. So make sure that you are getting to that basement, whether you're under that severe thunderstorm warning or under that tornado warning. Again, we've got a wall of wind coming along, 70 miles per hour or greater with the wind gusts. We also have those tornado warnings stretching from about Stockton towards Mount Carroll, and then towards the Rock Falls area. Looks like we got a brand new warning up from the National Weather Service. Bear with me as I... All right, so it looks like Greene County into southern Wisconsin. So a bit of an update there for far southern Wisconsin, just that extension of the warning when it comes to severe thunderstorm activity into some of those locations. So it sounds like we've got our whole team here. We got meteorologist Claudia Olick on standby, feeding me information. So definitely appreciate the whole team kind of being on. You are mic'd up. Okay. I might toss it over to her, kind of give you a reset on this whole situation here, and then I'll take a second to kind of reassess what I'm seeing on radar and everything when it comes to all of this. Yeah, here, we'll just kind of do a quick swap out. You can kind of take over here.
Thank you, Alex. Yeah, definitely seeing a lot of these threats moving towards our area. Right now, you can see a lot of those tornado warnings still in effect for Carroll County into even Whiteside County there. It looks like we do, is this a brand new warning here for Lee County? If we can take a look at that, is a brand new warning. So expires at about 7:30. Looks like we do have that into parts of Lee County. If we can take a look at what we're seeing on that in terms of potentially wind and velocity. So brand new warning for parts of Lee County just to the south of Dixon, right along I-88. Looks like Amboy is likely included in that, even parts of 52, Route 52 there. So taking a little bit of a closer look, this is including for Amboy just to the south of Franklin Grove as well. So brand new tornado warning as of right now, and that's going to be with those strong winds coming in, and there's that little inflow notch that you're seeing. That's what we're tracking as it'll slowly start to move into portions of Lee County. So again, looks like Amboy is going to be right in the path of that, as we are seeing a little bit of that rotation here. You can even see part of that through reflectivity as it slowly starts to move into the north, or into the east, I should say. So in terms of timing, looks like Amboy, it's going to hit your area around 7:17, a little further to the east. We'll slowly start to see it getting closer to Sublette at around 7:21. So this is definitely the time you want to take action. Make sure you get in your safe spot, because again, this line of thunderstorms is moving fairly quickly. And again, we do see that little area of rotation, even affecting areas like East Grove, Amboy, Brooklyn, all up next with this brand new tornado warning. So definitely traveling a little faster. We are seeing it moving northeast at 70 miles an hour. So that's pretty fast, as we are seeing this whole line of thunderstorms, again, still producing a lot of those warnings in effect as of right now. So all the way from Freeport down into Lee County, seeing that still impacting mainly our western counties right now. Looks like we're seeing a lot of that slowly starting to move in through Freeport. We'll get a nice timing here for you as it moves further east into the rest of our area. So Oregon about 7:09, Rockford closer to 7:23, DeKalb 7:38, as this entire system continues to move forward. And again, just a wall of wind, even seeing those hurricane force winds moving in, and we're also still seeing some of those spin ups. So definitely still stay on guard, as we are seeing still tornado warnings. So taking a look at all the warnings we're currently seeing, still seeing a tornado warning in effect for parts of this is Ogle County and even the bottom half of Stevenson County, looks like, just to the south of Freeport. Parts of Carroll County, including Lanark, still seeing that tornado warning as well. So if you are within those tornado warnings, definitely make sure you're taking action into your safe space, as we are seeing a potential to see some of that rotation within the area. So definitely going to
too. So that kind of extends what we're seeing from Stevenson County into Ogle County. So now they're kind of included all within that one warning.
Absolutely. Okay, so we are going to end up seeing that warning, like Alex just mentioned, extended, and this is your time to take action. Make sure you are below ground, get into your basements, because these storms are also moving fairly quickly, so we don't have too much time to prepare, and make sure you are in that safe space. Grab anything you need, blankets and helmets and things like that, to make sure you're covered in case we do end up seeing those warnings right over your head. So if we could pull up that warning to see where it has been extended into and what we're currently seeing as the whole system slowly starts to move into the east here. So it does look like this part of Ogle County, just to the east of, west of Oregon, I should say. Okay, so parts just to the north of Polo, looks like. Forston, you are included in parts of that. So really the northwestern corner of Ogle County. So seeing that really anywhere from Freeport to Forston, even down to Polo, seeing that tornado warning in effect as of right now till about 7:15. So make sure you're in that safe space. We are seeing some very strong winds with this. Taking a look if we are seeing any inklings of rotation. Okay, that's what I was kind of looking for right here. We could see potentially a little bit of that rotation happening, where you're seeing some of those darker blues and even that green color right there. So definitely going to focus on this area just past through Lanark, and again moving right into where we see that current tornado warning. Taking a look at where it's headed next. So Forston, you'll end up seeing that in just a few minutes, but up next later on is going to be Pecatonica, closer to 7:20. Even Duran, first a little closer to the state line as we move into the rest of the 7 o'clock hour, closer to about 7:28, even clipping parts of Rockford. So again, this whole entire line is going to travel through our area, bringing us that line to wind, and again some of those little hooks that we're seeing of little areas of rotation. So don't let your guard down just yet. We are still tracking active warnings and through parts of our area. Look, is this a brand new warning for Okay, so brand new tornado warning for Carroll and Stevenson County. This does include Freeport. Doesn't expire until 7:45. Okay, and a confirmed tornado in Shannon. If we could pull that up and also pull up the rotation if possible to take a look at what we're currently tracking. So confirmed tornado near Shannon. That's exactly what you're seeing right here. Those different colors tightly coupled together. That's where we are seeing those areas of rotation. So if you are hearing my voice, this is your time to get in that shelter. A confirmed tornado in Shannon, Illinois, as it slowly starts to move further to the northeast. So just near Freeport, really between Freeport and Forston. This is now moving through the area. It's going to continue to the northeast, and it's moving rather quickly as well. So make sure you are in your safe space. This is your time to take action. And speaking of, let's break that down here and give you a little timer. So looks like it will reach places like Florence at about 7:05, Pecatonica closer to 7:22, Durand 7:29. So those places, you guys do have just a little bit of time, but not much. Again, this is traveling fairly quickly as it moves further to the northeast. So any other brand new warnings that we are seeing or potentially seeing any of that developing across the area? Looks like this is the only confirmed tornado still tracking. So moved out of Lanark as of right now through Shannon, really between Freeport and Forston there. So taking a little bit of a wider look, you could see exactly where that is headed. Further to the south, just to the south of Dixon, still seeing that tornado warning into parts of Lee County. That does include Amboy. Make sure you are in your safe space as we are seeing some rotation indicated. This is your time to take action. Move below ground into the basement if you have it, away from windows if you don't have a basement, the most interior spot in your home. The goal is to put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. So most interior bathroom or closet is a really good place to be in right now if you are within some of those areas, especially with that confirmed tornado in Shannon. If we can go back to that to see a couple more details on how quickly it is moving and where it's headed next as we head within the next few hours, again tracking really that wall of wind along with those spin ups. So here are your tornado warnings, parts of Lee County and into the north. That does include parts of Carroll, the corner of Ogle, and even Stevenson County. So that is where we have that tornado confirmed. You can see that wall of thunderstorms just moving in. Lots of lightning as well. So something we'll have to consider. But again, those spin ups and tornado warnings is what we are most concerned about. We're seeing that through Shannon right now, moving fairly quickly again into the northeast, headed towards places like Pecatonica. Going to slowly start to move closer to that state line. So this is just your lightning feature. Take a look. I mean, you could just really see that wall up from the state line all the way down through Whiteside County. So plenty of lightning with this, but the biggest concern is definitely going to be those damaging winds along with that potential of seeing that spin up. So that you can actually see it very well right here. So just to the south of Freeport, you can see that through Forston now, slowly starting to move up into the northeast. So Forston, definitely make sure you are in your safe spot. You don't have much time anymore as we are seeing that confirmed tornado as it slowly starts to move towards Freeport. Looks like we may have just a little bit of that inflow near Freeport as well, but in terms of the timing, with the rotation we're seeing near Forston, going to continue to push into the northeast. German Valley 7:14, Pecatonica 7:23. Those areas you don't have much time to get in your safe spot. So now is really the time to do that. Durand 7:30. It's going to continue to push into the northeast closer to that state line as we are currently tracking those areas of rotation. That's what you're seeing here with those green and red colors coupled. When they start to spin around each other, that's when we are seeing a lot of that rotation, either from the slowly reaching from the surface. So something to consider. Looks like we are seeing that active tornado warning in those areas. You could see it here very clearly as we're seeing those red and green colors coupled even a little bit further to the north of Freeport, looks like. But this is our concern right now with an active tornado warning, again, for parts of Ogle and Stevenson County as well as it continues to push near I-20. If you know anyone on I-20 headed towards or near Freeport, let them know that they are headed towards that area of rotation. Again, this is your time to take action. We will end up seeing potentially this continue throughout the next few hours. So I'll swap with Alex Kirchner for now, but continually watching this tornado warning.
So this is what we want to watch out for here is, just multiple threats that we are tracking when it comes to all of this activity. So look for, again, we're looking at multiple threats here when it comes to not only just the tornado warning, but also that severe thunderstorm warning. You can see that we've got all sorts of things up and down the radar as we go along throughout the course of this evening. So I just wanted to kind of reset here and get you up to speed on what we're seeing now. Two areas, at least on radar currently, when it comes to tornadic activity. We've also got that wall of wind, gusts up to about 80 miles per hour or so, moving along at about 70 miles per hour, just on its speed on its own, and then it's bringing, of course, 70-mile-an-hour wind gusts on top of that. So that's what we're looking at on radar currently. As we take a closer look into, we'll kind of go down the line here. We'll start up with that tornado warning near the Stockton area. So this is outside of Lena, if anything, at this point. So that is, again, a warning out for at least about another half an hour or so. Kind of right outside of Lena. So hopefully if you're in the Lena area, you might be in the clear here. We might be able to get down almost to the road level when it comes to this activity. All right, okay, right over McConnell, right near Illinois 73. That is where we're seeing possible rotation with a tornado. If you're in Lena, you're probably in the clear at this point. Might be able to come out of your basement as those storms are past you. Winslow, McConnell, Oneco, you're up next within the next 10 to 15 minutes as this warning moves along. So that is, again, rotation right over McConnell. Let's then look towards that, and this was an observed tornado, correct?
Yes. Now it is capable of producing a tornado near Freeport.
Capable of producing a tornado near Freeport. So again, this is a confirmed tornado when it comes to this next warning in Stephenson County. I think we're going to sit on this one for just a little bit. Right near Florence, again, Illinois 26, and then heading towards Freeport when it comes to, again, got a brand new scan in from the radar, so we're getting that rotation approaching Freeport.
I did just get a report that sirens are now going off near Freeport, and it makes sense with this rotation now indicated.
Okay, so we got sirens going off in Freeport. Remember, those sirens, they're great if you're outdoors. If you're inside, you might not be able to hear them. You got the TV up, you got all the walls and things around you, so don't necessarily rely on those sirens, but we are getting reports of sirens going off into Freeport with that tornado warning as it advances along. Let's get nice and tight down onto where that is, because again, if this is a confirmed tornado here, we want to make sure that we're keeping a very close eye on this. So this is Freeport proper, as you can see. We've got US 20 running along this way, Silver Creek. This looks like Valley View Road, and then Highway 26. So if we could pop up the rotation tool. All right, so that is, again, kind of right outside of downtown Freeport, heading towards, again, looks like just between... Yep, that's Baileyville Road. So Baileyville Road is about where we're seeing that tight rotation on radar, where that possible tornado is. So that's right about where that location is. So again, if you're not in your basement already, Freeport, get there immediately, because we've got a tornado danger almost right on top of you, and we'll have to kind of see of that next radar scan where that trends next. But Silver Creek, that is a concern because that rotation's right on top of you as of this point. Up next would be Lancaster, Brown Mills, and then crossing over Business 20 and US 20. So if you know anybody that's out driving in that direction, tell them to get out of the way and get down into a ditch, because that is the safe spot to be. You don't want to be in that vehicle, so give them a phone call. I'm looking at Brown Mills at about 7:15, the track on this particular tornado, again, heading right near downtown Freeport. So we will, again, continue to keep a very close eye on this situation as we progress along. And then further to the south, we had another tornado warning that will be moving into the southern section of Lee County. So this is south of Dixon, right near East Grove. You can see how the radar really just kind of kinks in on itself. My goodness, that is some tight rotation right there. You can see how these colors are swirling now. So this is right north of East Grove, heading towards Amby. And let me know, guys, if we got...
Parts of near Winslow and also south of Monroe. So moving northeast at about 50 miles an hour. This has been in radar indicated with a little bit of that rotation for Greene and Rock County. So a little bit further closer to Freeport and to the north is exactly around that area where you were just looking at, Alex.
Okay, so again, so that was just an update, an extension on that tornado warning?
Yes, into southern Wisconsin.
Okay.
Into
southern Wisconsin.
Correct.
Okay, so brand new warnings out now, extending into Rock County, 7:45, about 8 o'clock, the expiration there. So Monroe, you got that possible tornado heading towards you. get to the basement if you're not already there, because you've been seeing those strong winds slide through. So, those are the spots that could be seeing 70-mile-an-hour wind gusts and now a tornado threat. So, brand new warning out that extends into the western half of Janesville, or Rock County, excuse me, near Janesville. Let's get back over to this warning here into southern Lee County, just because it was looking very bright and twisty on that radar, and that's the one concern I have, is to make sure that we're also keeping an eye on this too. And then let me know, guys, if this has been confirmed or not in that location.
There hasn't been anything confirmed.
Okay, so that's still a possible tornado heading towards Amboy. You can see how the radar really, like the radar winds really kink in on themselves right at about there. So again, this is heading towards Amboy within the next, if we could get a track on that when you get a second, no big rush, but we're looking at that heading towards Amboy, heading towards Highway 30, and then the interstate within the next, let's see, half an hour or so here. So Amboy, several minutes away, if that. So Amboy, get down into your storm shelter, get down into your basement. No confirmed tornado here, but you see how tight and see how kinked that radar looks. I think there could be some pretty strong rotation forming here. That could form a tornado at any second. West Brooklyn at about 7:24, Compton at about 7:30, Pawpaw at about 7:35. So that is the southernmost tornado warning that we're keeping an eye on. And again, we've got that warning near Freeport. We're going to go back to that. But also, on our way north, keep in mind, we've got severe thunderstorm warnings extending all the way out to the interstate, I-39. That is for wind gusts potentially up to 80 miles per hour. So that'll be into Rockford within the next about, if anything, I would say 15 minutes or so here. I know these are moving pretty fast, but if anything, they might have slowed up just a little bit when it comes to some of the timing on this. You can see Byron at about next 5 minutes or so, Rockford a little closer to 20 minutes from now. So that is, again, for that wind gust action up to about 80 miles per hour. So let's get back over to the Freeport tornado warning. So this is for, again, a confirmed tornado or an observed tornado right south of Freeport. If anything, it's kind of getting close to downtown here, concerningly. Let's get zoomed in on that just to kind of see if we can follow along with where that possible couplet is, where we're seeing these different colors kind of meet each other. It might be just outside of downtown, right at about where Business 20 and US 20 split there. So if you can kind of picture where that location is, that's about where we could be seeing that tornadic activity as that slides along. So we'll be watching that very closely here as this moves through some of our area. And if anything, we're getting some lightning out ahead of that. So, don't be out trying to look for this as it moves through. Make sure that you're indoors and staying away from this, because out ahead of all this, we've got those strong winds, potentially gusting up to about 80 miles per hour. I know it might take a second, but if anything, we can get our turbulence tracker on. That might be able to show where some of these very strong winds may be out of all of this. That's probably on top of Hecatonica, if anything, as we progress through the rest of this evening. So, bit of a recap here. We're looking at 70-mile-an-hour wind gusts coming with this line of thunderstorm activity. We've got tornado warnings stretching just outside of Lena towards southern Wisconsin. And then, if anything here, this is about where that tornado is, kind of right outside of Freeport, and then some very strong wind gusts extending out of this. And if we can go down the line, we can almost show off where we see that leading edge of the winds. So it's kind of right where you start to get that transition between, green on the radar and about red on the radar. So you might get a little light rain first, and then you really get hit with those strong winds. So we can kind of then pinpoint here, again, right about where this border is, that's where those 70-mile-an-hour wind gusts are coming from. Check this out right here. Might not be anything, but you can see how this twists on itself. Not looking great. So when we get a chance, we'll pull up our rotation tool and just look at that. If anything, it might just be some strong winds and some spooky looking radar imagery, but it caught my eye, and I want to just double check on any of these. If we can give you viewers an edge when it comes to these potential tornadoes, we will definitely pass that along. So, okay, that was...
The tornado warning for Ogle County has been expired.
Tornado warning for Ogle County has been expired. So that's that little sliver here near Foreston. If you're in Foreston, you're in the clear. when it comes to that tornado warning. So again, that was this little corner right here, kind of right near Forest. And if anything, this is a Stevenson County threat located just to the north of German Valley, right near Freeport. That is that confirmed tornado working its way down US 20, working its way towards Rydot. So those are where we could see that tornado threat. Again, if anything, right near Rydot right now, that is where that possible tornado is. So make sure that you are hunkered down if you're in Rydot. You can see again, we're getting a lot of turbulent winds here, so lots of swirling winds going around on our different data tools. You're in Rydot, make sure you're in that basement. Stay there as long as you can as we continue to have this warning out. Let's see if we can extend this because, you know, one thing us as meteorologists we have to keep an eye on. Our TV station is out in this direction, so we want to make sure that we are aware of where that tornado warning is and where those winds could be headed to. So if anything, we get closer to about 7:25, 7:30, we might have to make an adjustment here. You can see how on that radar data, we're really looking at things kind of swirling in on itself. If anything, what I'm going to do is kind of send it over to meteorologist Claudia Olek to kind of take over some coverage here, and we're going to kind of reassess what we might do as those strong storms get closer and closer towards Winnebago. So if anything, head over to the weather pod and we'll have you kind of take over from there. Where, as you can see, on our roof camera, we're getting a lot of lightning towards us, so the storm's not quite here just yet, but they will be definitely on their way as we take a live look on our roof camera towards these storms heading towards Winnebago itself. So we got this whole line of winds taking over here, gusting up to about 70, 80 miles per hour. We don't want to ignore that threat or kind of just be focusing strictly on the tornadoes. As this approaches spots like Rockford and Winnebago, you're going to want to make sure that you are down and away from the exterior walls and all that, because these are hurricane force wind gusts heading towards us. So we'll toss it over to Claudia here to kind of drive our coverage for just a little bit as we reassess how we want to do our situation here at the TV station. I just want to do a safety check quick.
Thank you, Alex. It does look like we are potentially watching some area of circulation around Amboy. We may see a tornado warning issued shortly. So looks like there is a couple circulations just north of Amboy that may end up prompting that tornado warning. So we'll zoom in on that and see what we are currently looking at. So again, this is where we just saw that warning expire, may prompt another one as we are seeing a potential of some of that within Amboy especially. So taking a look, you could see we're seeing some of those little notches where those winds are kind of coming in on each other. That's the areas of circulation that we are currently watching. So I'll zoom in just a little tighter for you to give you a better idea. So you can see that in parts of Amboy now slowly starting to move even up into Franklin Grove. So really along that line, anywhere you're seeing some of those inflow notches, that's where we may potentially end up seeing some of that circulation prompting to a tornado warning. So as of right now, we aren't seeing any of that within Ogle County, but definitely seeing that threat for circulation. So something to keep an eye on. Again, if you are within Amboy, even Brooklyn, closer to Franklin Grove, even Rochelle, keep an eye on this and make sure you are paying attention in case we do have to take cover and run to that safe spot. So that is something that we are currently watching as we assess some of these watches and warnings. But right now, not seeing any new ones. Looks like there is a new severe thunderstorm warning for the rest of Ogle County. I'm going to take a zoom out here and see what we are currently looking at. Issued. We're continuing that severe thunderstorm warning, I should say. However, that there is a possibility for tornadoes, so we do still have that area of circulation within parts of Ogle County. So make sure you are staying weather aware. Don't have to get in your safe spot just yet. However, we are watching that part of Lee County, I should say. So taking a wider look, looks like we just got a brand new tornado warning issued for parts of DeKalb. Lee County as well, doesn't expire until 8 p.m. We are definitely seeing those severe thunderstorms capable of producing both tornadoes and destructive straight line winds over 80 miles an hour. So this is where we are seeing posing threat. Does look like some of that is slowly starting to even intensify, slowly moving just past Amboy. Looks like West Brooklyn, Pawpaw, you are next, Rochelle as well, and also DeKalb County. So if you are within DeKalb County, now is a really good time to get in your safe spot before all of this hits, along with Pawpaw, Rochelle as well. So we'll break that down here and see if where we are seeing potentially some of those areas of rotation. You can even see just the color differences from the bright greens and the bright blues as well. That's those very strong winds really packing a punch. Maybe not on the leading edge of it, but just past that, as also that's where some of that heaviest rain is starting as well. So we'll end up seeing that as we head within the next few minutes, slowly reaching towards places like West Brooklyn as well. So seeing that as we head into the next few minutes here. Rochelle, you are also in that tornado warning. So let's break this down here and give you a little timeline on where these storms are headed next and when exactly. So even Stillman Valley closer to, as of right now, slowly reaching you. So get in that safe spot as well. However, parts of the area in that new tornado warning, Rochelle, that does include you as well. So we're slowly starting to see that storm head towards you, closer to Kirkland at about 7:37, DeKalb 7:42, as we are currently seeing some of that slowly start to intensify. Again, not only are the circulations a threat, but those stronger, destructive straight line winds. So doesn't necessarily have to be tornadoes that we are tracking. Those straight line winds can really pack a punch and lead to a lot of destruction. So potentially seeing them over 80 miles an hour at times. It does look like we're seeing some of that moving through parts just near Ashton as well, slowly starting to move along as that line slowly starts to get closer to I-39. So that's what we're currently seeing right now. I'm going to take this tracker off for you and break down exactly what we are seeing and where. So go for it.
National Weather Service saying debris signature showing up west-northwest of Compton, passing over West Brooklyn. So again, we're getting a debris signature.
We are getting a debris signature just west-northwest of Compton. So we'll zoom in on that as we're seeing some of that through portions of the area. So,
and with all of that, I got a report from an emergency manager in the area, reports of wires and trees down in numerous locations south of Route 30. So that is right near Sublette, and maybe some semi-trailers blown over with that. All right, seeing some new signs of rotation along the line heading into western Winnebago County. So two things we're watching. Again, we've got reports of debris on radar near Compton, and we're also watching for possible signs of rotation right here near Pecatonica. So that is right along US 20. Because this is getting close to our TV station, we're going to have to move to our basement. We're going to have to move to our storm shelter. So what we're going to do is set up our temporary studio downstairs. We've got a mic and all that down there, but we're going to move the WREX staff to the basement because this thing is getting awfully close to us. So bear with us for a second. We're going to leave the radar up. Eventually we'll have some mics open. We'll be able to take over our weather equipment from there, but we got to make sure that we're keeping ourselves safe too. So we're going to move to the basement right now. Stay with us for additional updates.
does everybody know? Okay.
Roman, where the hell are you going?
It's right here.
You got it? Yep. Okay. Can somebody grab my laptop? Thank you. Grab the blanket. Perfect. We'll put that over the door. And then, Claudia, the computer should be ready for you, okay?
Yep. Alex has his too.
Okay.
All right, you should be able to hear us while we're in our shelter, our temporary studio. We moved to the temporary studio because, as you can see, we've got a brand new tornado warning out for Winnebago County. This also extends into eastern Ogle County, and it's all the way across Lee County, too. So we've got multiple tornado warnings basically stretching down the I-39 corridor. If you can hear us, you got to be down in your basement. That extends all the way to McHenry County and all of DeKalb County. So basically, this whole line of activity is tornado warned at this point. If you are watching us, get to your basement now. This is not time to mess around and try to see this storm or anything like that. We want you to make sure that you are in your basement immediately, and that's where we're at right now. We are sheltered down in our studio's basement because we do not want to mess around with this storm too. We got to make sure that we're keeping all of us safe as we progress through the rest of this evening. So, are you going to get NWS chat up? Yeah, okay. We're going to go over to the radar now, and we're going to check out all of these storms and see where we can see all of this possible rotation. And again, we are, down in our basement. We are safe. We're hearing sirens in Winnebago, but we've got all of our staff in the basement, so we should be in our safe, sheltered spot. So we're going to go one by one here when it comes to all of this activity. We've got tornado warnings near Monroe and Broadhead. We're going to go north to south. Possible rotation right outside of Broadhead. That is where a tornado is or will be currently. In fact, got a brand new warning out for all of Rock County now. So if you are hearing us in Rock County, I know it's been pretty quiet for you. Janesville, Beloit, spots in between, basement now or in your storm shelter. Maybe that's to a hallway. Maybe that's to the lowest floor. Just try to put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. That is what we want you to do. So again, tornado. We'll see if we can get confirmation on this one into Rock County and Greene County, but this is right along Highway 11 outside of Broadhead. So that is where one tornado is currently. Now, moving to Winnebago County, these are brand new warnings, and this is what, it caught my eye, it caught my attention. We got possible rotation coming out of Stevenson County in between Pecatonica and Winnebago. I'll zoom in quick here and see if we can get a more pinpoint location on that. And let me know, guys, if you start to see any kind of storm reports. Just kind of shout out as you see them. Again, right between Pecatonica and Winnebago, we've got a possible tornado. This would be right at about Winnebago Road and near Telegraph Road. So between Pecatonica and Winnebago, near Winnebago Road and Telegraph Road, that's where we're seeing rotation on radar. This is north of US 20, not quite over Winnebago yet, but you know what? If you're in Winnebago like we are, you got to get to your basement. That's where we are right now at WREX. We are in our shelter currently. So, again, that is one spot that we're watching closely. All right, Byron, Davis Junction up next. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to check out this rotation tool. If anything for you, I am seeing just a lot of wind, possibly gusts up to 70, 80 miles per hour. And, there's, if anything, a little bit kind of popping up here right outside of Byron. So this is why we want to, that's why those tornado warnings are out. At any point, you might get a little spin up like this developing on radar. So there is not a ton of time for you to, get to that safe spot. So, if you're not in your basement now, you got to be there. That's the action we want you to take currently. All right. Looking at Rochelle, looking at Willow Creek, looking at these locations to see just about where we have, again, rotation on radar and a lot of wind. Looks a little messy to my eye, but if anything, there's possibly some spots south of 64, Highway 64, when it comes to that possible rotation and a possible tornado. Might be another one located right near Alto, so kind of right near I-39. So those are the spots that, again, possible tornadic activity. Going to get back over to the whole scene and just kind of reset here because, if anything, tornado warnings and severe thunderstorm warnings are merging here. So even if we don't see rotation kind of near your locale, there could be gusts up to about 70 miles per hour. Those are spots that, those winds can knock over trees, knock over power lines. So whether you're under a severe thunderstorm warning or a tornado warning, you're going to want to make sure that you are away from all of the windows and the upper floor, and then, get down to the lowest floor as possible. with a tornado warning, it's the basement. So make sure that you are down in that location as we go along over the rest of this evening. All right, let's get back over to radar here and continue to track that again from north to south. Multiple tornado warnings out right now, stretching essentially from right outside of Monroe to Janesville towards Winnebago. So round number one, we'll do, like we did before, kind of working north to south. Broadhead, you might have something right on top of you right now. Kind of right within here, you can see that just the northwest of Broadhead. That possible activity could be producing a tornado right in here. And you can see how like the radar colors kind of swirl in on themselves. That is where we're pinpointing a possible tornado right now. And then, kind of let me know, do we have anything? Sure. Okay. We're still kind of working on making sure that we get the difference between the confirmed tornadoes and the possible tornadoes. You can see that strong rotation kind of northwest of Broadhead. All right. We're going to move southwards now towards that warning that was issued not too long ago for spots like Pecatonica and Winnebago. And we might hold here for a little bit because this is getting towards a much more densely populated area. Where we're going to keep an eye on you, whether you're in Rockford or McChesney Park or that kind of thing. So, Wempleton, if anything, that's where I'm seeing the rotation right now. It might be out of Winnebago's hair, so that is some good news. And, that's where we're sheltering currently. As we look out here, strong rotation developing on radar right near New Milford. So this is approaching bypass 20. I am seeing some strong rotation on radar right by the airport. So that is going to head its way northwest into Rockford. We'll see if we can get some speed on that for you in just a second. But that's where I'm seeing, again, some strong rotation on radar right near the airport for the Rockford area. That is moving at about 50 miles an hour. So as we put a track on that, I'm sure it's going to be aimed towards some sections of Rockford here in a second. So bear with me as we pull this data up again. That really stood out to me is that possible rotation, that strong rotation. You can see how dark those colors are right next to each other, right by about 251 and Highway 20. That will then move about in that direction. So that'll probably be moving closer to downtown Rockford at about 736, Rock Cut State Park at about 745, and then exiting from there. So those are the spots that are up next. Rockford, we've got that strong rotation, so you know where you got to be in this situation. It would be close to Loves Park at about 740, McChesney Park at 744, Argyle again at about 750, Rock Cut State Park right in between there. So we will zoom nice and in here and again pop this rotation up. That would be right over US 20 right now, approaching Harrison Road and Sandy Hollow Road. So those are the spots that would be up next. I think if anything it's going to cross 251 within the next couple minutes. So again, this is kind of the south side of Rockford heading towards right over US 20 and 251. That is where we could see that very strong rotation possibly produce a tornado at any second here. If anything, if you're in Winnebago, if you're in Pecatonica, I think you might be in the clear as we do see a lot of that rotation kind of moving past you as of this point. So I think, if anything, we might move out of our shelter and back up in just a second here. But I wanted to kind of confirm that, give it one more radar scan before we make that move. And again, just to emphasize, we're doing what we preach. We're down into our basement right now. We got our whole staff down here because we were concerned about that rotation right near Winnebago. If anything, I think the worst of it might be past us. So we'll probably be making a move in here in just 1 second, but we will have to continue to keep an eye on this right near 251 in US 20. Moving towards Ogle and Lee counties. Again, you've got a whole line of wind here. If anything, there's a lot of strong wind gust activity, especially to the east of Pawpaw. You're looking at gusts up to about 70 miles per hour or so, and then passing Rochelle, too, when it comes to all of this. So I'll actually pull up the winds here and just kind of show you where some of the strongest of the winds are. Bear with me. You can kind of see those bright spots on the map. That's where the strongest of the winds are. So if anything, they're past Pawpaw, they're past Waterman at this point. While I have this data tool up, we're going to reassess that situation heading towards Rockford as of this point. All right. I think what we're going to do is move back into our studio, but we got to keep a very close eye on what's going on right over Rockford, because again, that's where the worst of the danger is currently. Looking at some strong wind gusts right along US 20 heading towards downtown, and again, that possible strong rotation, a possible tornado right over New Milford as of this point. So bear with us for one more second as we move out of our shelter, because we are now in the clear, and move back towards checking out again downtown Rockford. You've got a possible tornadic situation on top of you, so make sure that you are down in your basement. So again, we are going to make the move right now. If you see someone driving around downtown, just make sure you flag them over and get them to their safe spot. We're going to give you a live look at downtown Rockford right now as that possible rotation moves along. I don't know if we're going to see anything, but I wanted to pop that up just for a second. So here is the latest warning map. We will be moving back to the studio in just 1 second, so bear with us as coverage resumes shortly. Okay, we are back live in our studio right now. I think we're having a weather clicker because we just moved out of our shelter and back into our studio. So let us take a moment as we reassess the situation here and get everything logged back in. And you know what? I think this is only the second time in my career that I've had to run to a tornado shelter in the middle of a tornado warning, in the middle of tornado coverage. So I just want to emphasize here, we do not take this lightly. If there is a tornado warning for our location, we here at WREX take shelter too. So that's why we want to make sure that you are doing the same. Definitely follow our advice and we practice what we preach. Here's a big reset here. Multiple tornado warnings working into southern Rock County. So we'll have to watch this line of activity here. We also have all sorts of strong winds working their way into DeKalb County. And then if anything, I want to pause that radar and get right down into Rockford itself, because again, we saw a rotation on radar. That tornado warning still in effect. We'll have to see if anything has been confirmed out of that. It is essentially kind of right over downtown. We'll have to get in a lot further than that, just kind of check out just exactly where it is. Let's get down to street level. Let's get all the way into it just to make sure that we can kind of see whereabouts this rotation is. Here we are at Guilford, Fairview Boulevard. You're looking at, this should be Spring Brook and Spring Creek kind of right when here. So it's getting close to that whole interchange here of Alpine Road heading towards Spring Brook and Spring Creek Road and Guilford Road. So, if you hear my voice, you still want to be in that tornado shelter and stay there, because that's where we have that possible tornado tracking. Again, right through Guilford Road, right towards Spring Brook Road, and right near Alpine Road. That's where that strong rotation is currently. And on top of all this, you're not going to be able to see this coming. We got a lot of rain and wind whipping around with this, and potentially gusts up to 70 miles per hour. So this whole thing is not just tornado warned. There's also some severe thunderstorm activity with it, looking at gusts potentially up to about 70 miles per hour or so. So that is, again, a lot of big threats here. And you can kind of see there's another kink in the radar. This might, if anything, might be bowing out some. So some strong wind gusts potentially popping up south of Cherry Valley. Let's check that out. I don't know if that's necessarily rotation, but we are looking at, again, possibly some strong wind gusts right along that Winnebago to, if anything, that'd be Ogle County line. So multiple spots that we're tracking here with some strong winds heading towards Cherry Valley itself. But if anything, that's the big concern here. Right over the middle of Rockford, we've got strong rotation on radar. And let me know, guys, our team of meteorologists is here. We got John Juergens, we got Claudia Olick on the studio with me, kind of asking me different updates and things like that. So, if you do see any kind of new reports or if anything's been confirmed, definitely shout it out. If we get over to the safety slide here just for a second, we'll kind of go through some of the different safety things that we want you to do. So tornado warning, you still got to be into the basement. That's the big thing that we want you to be at as of right now.
it doesn't look like there was a confirmed tornado. If anything, we are definitely, looks like they're going to continue that tornado warning for parts of DeKalb and Ogle County, with those thunderstorms potentially producing tornadoes here. So again, that's located along that line, extending about from Davis Junction near Waterman, slowly starting to move through the area. And that's exactly what that line of thunderstorms that may end up producing some tornadoes. So you could see some of that has been cut off into parts of DeKalb County. You're currently looking at your current alerts right now. So still seeing multiple active tornado warnings in effect. So make sure you are in your safe space. We are still seeing that threat, especially with those stronger winds. So may even see this squall line slowly start to produce not only some areas of circulation, but along with some extensive straight line winds. So those are going to be very damaging. This is all moving northeast at about 60 miles an hour. So definitely seeing that moving through portions of the area. You're noticing those warnings in effect. And again, this is your time to take action. So let's take a look right now at our radar to see what we are currently looking at. You'll notice a lot of places within Lee and Ogle County already in the clear. So that does include Dixon and even up into Freeport, but Rockford still seeing a lot of those impacts, even through Malta, DeKalb, currently pushing further to the northeast. So we'll zoom in on some of these communities to see exactly what we're seeing. So still under that current tornado warning. Taking a look at your rotation tool, still seeing a potential for some of that, getting a little close to Belvedere now. So we're seeing some of that where you're seeing some of those very deep and bright colors slowly starting to really move along I-20 and close to that I-90 corridor. So that's what we're seeing right now, where you're seeing that very bright blue color slowly starting to kind of turn in on itself along with those bright greens. So moving further into the northeast as it slowly starts to...
Very strong wind gust activity, if anything, kind of right close to, US 20 and I-90 there. So that's kind of what's catching my eyes. Maybe some very strong outflow coming out of this storm. So if anything, whether it's a tornado or whether it's strong wind gust activity, you're going to want to make sure that you're down and avoiding that because of that wind threat here. And if we can get down maybe closer towards the Rockford area too. With that, we had that spot kind of right near Guilford Road, as well as, if anything, that might have moved on roughly right close to I-90. These storms are, or I-39, these storms are moving very fast. So you can see on the right side of your screen, we got a live view of downtown Rockford. You happen to know anybody driving out there right now? Tell them to try to get to a safe spot as quickly as possible. The strong rotation itself might be now closer to I-90 when it comes to that tornado threat, so it might have moved on beyond downtown Rockford. Now we're going to pull a whole, as you can see, squall line out here, and if anything, I'm going to have a little trouble reading that, so if we can go full screen on me, please. I can then see, thank you, Caledonia at 7:45, Capron at about 7:50, Harvard about 7:57. So I don't believe we've got any of those. So we do have the tornado warnings out for all of Boone County. So you're up next with all of this. A lot of the potential damaging winds here have moved beyond the Rockford area and then heading towards Boone County up next. Again, Caledonia at 7:44, Capron at about 7:50, looking at Harvard close to 8 o'clock. So those are the counties or communities, I should say, up next as this continues to move along and to the northeast at about roughly 50 miles per hour. It has slowed up some, but that's still moving at highway speed, which means it definitely reduces the amount of time that you need to get to shelter. So as then we look, a lot of this is past I-39. It's moving out of Lee County. Like Claudia mentioned, I think a lot of Lee County might be in the clear here, right over DeKalb. So let's check out DeKalb just for a second. We want to keep an eye on our friends at Northern Illinois University, and in that community, hopefully there's there is a little bit of rotation, plus those strong winds right behind it. So they're coming out of Afton. You might be getting, again, some strong wind activity, gusts up to about 70, 80 miles per hour. And then we are getting a little bit of a rotation, or at least some indications of a rotation, right to the south of DeKalb. So that's just to the south of 38, Highway 38, as you, kind of look at where you are on the map. So kind of in between I-88 and Illinois 38. That's about where we could see, again, possibly some spin-ups on the radar in addition to that strong wind activity. So up and down the board, this has been the issue with this storm front, or this gust front, as it moves along. You got the strong winds, And then on occasion, you get a quick spin up, you get a quick tornado on the leading edge of that. So that's why there's multiple things that we are tracking and trying to keep you up to speed on. So really, if you got a warning, whether it's a tornado warning, and I think all locations are tornado warned at this point, we want you down in the basement, whether you're in DeKalb, whether you are in Cherry Valley, whether you're in Janesville and Beloit. It's all stretching up and down that I-39 corridor. At any moment, a tornado could pop up, and you've got those hurricane-force wind gusts. So we mentioned it multiple times through our little broadcast here. Get down to the lowest floor without windows. So put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. Get below ground. Get out of that mobile home and cover up with blankets and bike helmets. Going to toss it over to meteorologist Claudia Olick here just to kind of see if she's got any more information or anything new that we got to update our viewers on. You know, we've been very close in on the radar. So Claudia, give us kind of just an overall view of all of that activity as we progress through the rest of this evening and, you know, kind of take an assessment of what we see when it comes to all these threats moving along.
As of right now, Alex, it does look like a majority of this is slowly starting to push further to the east past I-39. So looks like most of Lee County is out of the in the clear, even slowly seeing that trend for Ogle County as well. So most of that threat still resides within really parts of Winnebago, as well as now Boone and DeKalb counties. So that's what you're seeing right now. Still seeing an active tornado warning for parts of the area. Let's zoom in on Belvedere to see what we are seeing. Lots of that strong wind gusts coming through, and as well as potentially some areas of, that's where you're seeing some of those really strong wind gusts, if anything, right through Belvedere as of right now. So definitely still want to stay away from your windows and things like that as we head into the next few minutes. And you can see a lot of those wind gusts really starting to pick up, even as we get closer to Poplar Grove, even along Route 76 here. So if you know anyone traveling in this area, thinking about heading out, just let them know, hey, hunker down for just a little bit, as we are seeing. Yes.
We just got something from the National Weather Service. A debris signature in central Boone, just north of Belvedere, moving east-northeast. So right where you are pinpointing right now, we are looking at potentially some debris showing up on radar. I know it might take a second for us to get our debris tracker up, but we will check that out. If anything, that will be, there we go. Not necessarily seeing a ton as we see it right now, but the National Weather Service said on their end they were looking at, again, just north of Belvedere moving east-northeast. So if anything, that would be kind of maybe right in this section here where we are getting some bright colors. So that spot you just pinpointed, if we're getting debris lofted up on radar, that is a tornado lofting that debris. So I think there might be some very strong end winds there, but if anything, that's where that tornado is again, right in this section here, kind of right near Illinois 76, north of Belvedere. National Weather Service, we saw it too. Debris on radar, tornado, definitely causing some damage here as we progress along. So that is, again, one spot we're going to watch for here. Let's see if we can zoom in on Belvedere, just to make sure that Belvedere itself is kind of out of the danger, if anything, or we can pinpoint some of the roads. It looks like Marengo Road and Logan Ave. Those are some of the spots where that debris is getting lofted up right now. So again, we're getting reports of debris on the radar. That is a strong storm. That is causing damage. That is what's popping up right here, right along Marengo Road, and then moving east-northeast towards Woodstock Road. So, if you're in those locations, that's a great indication right there of what that might be. Again, getting some debris on radar right to the north of Belvedere, kind of in between Squaw Prairie Road and
76, that is Belvedere North High School.
Right here is Belvedere North High School. So right about there, we're getting debris on radar. I really hope that you have been down in your basement for a while. Continue to stay there because, again, we're getting debris on radar when it comes to just north of Belvedere. We will continue to kind of keep an eye on some of the additional updates from the National Weather Service, but that was one that caught my eye. That right there near Poplar Grove also does not look the greatest on radar too. So if we have anything, we could maybe switch over to our velocity tool when you get a second here. Anytime we see these bright colors popping up on that debris tracker, that is concerning. But we'll see if we can cross-reference that with some possibly strong rotation. If anything, that's a lot more linear, so that could be just a very strong winds moving into Poplar Grove. But if you're by Belvedere North High School, tornado possibly causing damage near you, continue to stay in that basement, stay in shelter. Poplar Grove, you might be getting a lot kicked up right ahead of you with some strong winds. We'll keep an eye on this area too to see if we've got any kind of tornadic threats right near there, but that that debris tracker's handy because it kind of gives us an indication of what might be getting thrown up by either just some strong winds or a possible tornado. So out of that tornado threat, again, this is right north of Belvedere, Capron within the next 10 minutes. So please, if you're not there already, get down into that shelter. Harvard a little after 8 o'clock, and then Bigfoot Prairie at about 8:08. So this will be heading towards Capron within the next 10 minutes or so, if it's managing to hold together. So we'll have to watch that very closely as this thing moves along. So again, right near Poplar Grove, 173, right north of Belvedere, right near, again, that Belvedere North High School. That's where we're getting some debris or a lot of turbulence popping up on the radar itself. I don't want to forget about our viewers in, we're going to have to come back to that.
I was going to say, Alex, there is a new tornado warning issued for parts of Rock and Walworth County up into southern Wisconsin, like you were mentioned. May end up seeing some of those stronger thunderstorms capable of producing tornadoes near Janesville, so a little bit further to the north, and that's what you're seeing there behind you on Exact Track.
Okay, thanks for that update. You can see that warning now extending all the way to Lake Geneva. Want to make sure that, we've got people that watch us in Janesville. I don't want to forget about our friends in southern Wisconsin. Looks like a new severe thunderstorm warning. We'll check on that in a second. If we can get the rotation tool kind of up on that general area between Beloit and Janesville, just to kind of take a peek at what might be going on with those tornado warnings there. But if that got extended all the way to Walworth County, that does show, again, possibly seeing some issues right south of Janesville. And, of course, a lot of turbulence on that radar quite close to Rockton. And is that our guy near Poplar Grove?
I think so.
Okay.
Switch over to debris.
Yeah, we'll get over there. Let's see.
Oh gosh, yep.
That is, again, it's showing up bright. So if anything, that just means there's a lot of turbulence and things on radar. If we can go over to the velocity tool, that might be handy when it comes to the activity there, just to kind of see, again, if we're getting... That does locate pretty well. So there may be a tornado ongoing right near Poplar Grove. We'll have to continue to keep an eye on that. Let's get all the way zoomed in right to that location just to make sure that we're cross-referencing that with the highway. If anything, right now it's north of 173. We are looking at, again, Poplar Grove. Some tight rotation on radar. Haven't had any... confirmation with that from the National Weather Service, but you know what, as we assess the situation, we can see where that tornado may be, and we want to make sure that we're giving you some extra warning here. We are getting at least something extra turbulent going on right near 76 and 173. So that, again, is our debris tracker kind of showing, again, a lot of very turbulent winds. This is now kind of showing where we could be seeing winds and things overturning on our radar here. So this tool here just basically shows how turbulent the atmosphere is and how many different winds and things are colliding. So all of that really shows an indication that there may be something ongoing right here. If we could send a note to the National Weather Service, I really want to just kind of see if they're keeping an eye on that spot in particular, and if they've got anything that they're keeping an eye on. But we'll watch that. We'll also, let's go back south to the spot near Belvedere North, because again,
John,
there was some activity ongoing to that area of the radar too. We are looking at the rotation right near Belvedere. And likely getting some severe thunderstorm warnings kind of extended out of that. So this is what was right near Belvedere North High School not too long ago. Not seeing necessarily a nice tight couplet anymore, but we are getting at least some more broad rotation with some strong storms working their way towards north of Marengo into McHenry County. So we'll continue to keep an eye on this. If we can go back over to the warning map, I want to really take an assessment of just where all these warnings stand and who is in the clear, because we want to clear some people out. I know you've been with us. We've been talking about this for a couple hours now, so we'll zoom way out and kind of just see who's still under a warning and who's not. So, kind of a big overall picture here.
That there are power lines down approximately near, looks like we are seeing that in places, you know what, that is my mistake. I thought it was, you can disregard that, but we have ended up seeing that. Looks like we did get a couple of really strong wind gusts located around Belvedere with that thunderstorm. However, no confirmation on what any of those rotations may see. We did ask about that, so we're potentially still looking at that. Looks like we did see A roof collapse, that is the report near Belvedere. So north 104 North State Street, possible tornado damage. So there is something around that area that we have been tracking and looking at. So you did end up pointing that out, Alex, and that has been spotted. So
okay, that is great information to know. I want to just show you too, if you're in Greene County, you're in Stevenson County, you're in Freeport, you're in the clear. You got the all clear. You can get out of that basement. You can rest assured for the rest of the evening. Tornadic activity is past Rockford at this point, but we still have severe thunderstorm warnings out up and down the line here. So I would say continue to stay in that sheltered spot if you're in Rockford, if you're in Rochelle, if you're in Byron, you're in Dixon. Because you still have that severe thunderstorm warning, I don't want you to come out of the shelter just yet. Thankfully, that tornadic damage or that tornadic activity is past you, but we still look at a lot kind of now east of I-39 that we have to pay attention to. But at least spots farther west, you're in the clear. If you're near like Freeport, Monroe, you don't no longer have any other kind of warnings out. Still have some warnings for Winnebago, Ogle, and Lee counties in the time being for potentially wind gusts up to 70 miles per hour. That is near hurricane strength. Hopefully that will get cleared out as this moves east and you can come out of that shelter, but I'd say continue to hunker down for right now.
It does look like, Alex, those severe thunderstorm warnings for Lee and Ogle County along with Winnebago have been expired. So that is the good news. We're slowly starting to see that move further to the east.
Okay, that's good. So this is all dropping off now. So if you're in Rockford, you're in Rochelle, you're in Dixon, you can come out of that basement now. You are in the clear. The main threat then, as it progresses its way eastward, is now stretching from about Janesville, Beloit towards and past DeKalb as of this point. Let's check in on what was ongoing near Poplar Grove when it comes to that possible tornadic activity, those strong wind gusts. Same for the Belvedere area. So still getting some stronger rotation, possibly now north of Poplar Grove. So that is where, again, a potential tornado may be lurking out there, now north of 173 heading towards Harvard. That is one location that could be having some ongoing tornadic activity. You can see that things are looking extra turbulent on our debris trackers, so that could be things getting kind of blown around within these strong winds as this moves its way east-northeast. So that is one spot we're watching very closely here. And then if we go farther south, again, there was that possible rotation closer and moving out of Belvedere itself. And again, there was some tornado damage in Belvedere. That has now worked its way closer towards Marengo at this point. This is not seeing a ton popping up there, and if anything, that has really broadened out, so no longer seeing much of a tornado threat along that line anymore, at least by my eye, as we have that progress along. And then if we could go towards DeKalb too, again, we saw a little bit of at least some broad rotation close to DeKalb as that line came through.
It does look like there is that tornado warning for DeKalb and Winnebago County has been canceled. However, there is still continuing parts of Boone County and now McHenry County for parts of that tornado warning. So that's that sliver slowly further to the east as it crosses over into McHenry County. So, Alex, where that line is shaping up, where that little notch of rotation slowly starting to move south of Hampshire.
Okay, so that's now no longer near DeKalb, and again, warnings have expired at this point for the DeKalb area?
Yes, correct. So it was canceled for both DeKalb and Winnebago counties. Okay,
so we're in the clear there. So really, if anything that we've got left is Boone into McHenry counties and then Rock and Walworth counties where we're seeing some immediate danger right now. So really, everywhere else, you can probably start to come out of that shelter and just see what happened in your backyard. Continue to be safe out there. You know, if you start to see broken glass and things like that, hopefully not, but watch your step. Watch what's going on around you because it's, you know, getting after dark now. It's going to be hard to see some of that activity. So we will then key in on that county line between Boone and McHenry counties as we continue to have those tornado warnings ongoing. So this is right up to about Marengo and Harvard where we have, again, that possible tornado warning, or that tornado warning ongoing with that possible rotation popping up near Harvard, if anything. I can kind of see that that's not quite as intense as it was a little while ago, so hopefully that continues to broaden out a little bit. You're still looking at some pretty strong wind gusts, potentially up to 70 miles per hour here, but you may not be seeing that rotation threat quite anymore. But really, as we look all the way down to the lakeshore, essentially, I believe all of this is severe thunderstorm warned through McHenry County. So, if you're in Woodstock, you give it about 5 minutes or so, you're probably going to get hit with that wall of wind at 70-mile-an-hour wind gusts, which may knock things down. Algonquin at about 8:14, and then exiting towards Waukegan at about 8:30. So we will watch this as it moves along further towards the east. Let's head into southern Wisconsin then and check out some of the issues there. Hopefully they're not seeing, we just got a brand new radar scan, and that was looking awfully turbulent. If anything, it's past Janesville and Beloit, heading towards Delavan as of this point, and Lake Geneva not too far away. Lot of strong winds located kind of right along I-43 heading towards Highway 14. So that's what's catching my eye right now. Not necessarily any kind of tight rotation, except maybe this one spot here towards I-43. But overall, that will be, again, not quite as intense as it was before, so that may help as we go throughout the rest of this evening. Again, right near the interstate is where we could be seeing some possible rotation, but a lot of strong wind gusts. That's the main issue that we're seeing currently.
Looks like, Alex, there might have been a report of a funnel cloud possible near Beloit in Rock County. A report of a rotating wall cloud and that funnel moving across that Rock River. So exactly where we're seeing parts of that warning, getting a little bit closer to the state line, we might have spotted that funnel cloud. Okay.
And is that ongoing currently, right?
Yes, that was just reported, along with some of that tornadic debris signature that we saw moving northeast from Boone County as well. So still seeing that a little bit further towards the state line, now getting closer to Walworth County.
Gotcha. Okay, so like kind of right in this broad area here is where we could be seeing some tornadic activity. A rotating wall cloud is basically the kind of top part of the thunderstorm. Basically, the base of the thunderstorm extends all the way down to the ground, or at least descends from the base of the clouds itself, and then you get the tornado within that wall cloud. So we've got that circled right there. That, again, is our debris tracker, so that's showing where we could be getting a lot of things lofted around.
It does look like the Milwaukee office did issue, so for that tornado warning has been observed. Tornado producing those storms located from that line extending from Milton near Duran into Marengo as well, moving northeast at about 45 miles an hour. So really lines up where we're seeing that drop in our debris tracker, slowly moving really right along that state line, now approaching places like Walworth into southern Wisconsin.
Okay, so we got an ongoing tornado situation right outside of Walworth and Harvard. So if you're listening to us in Harvard, make sure that you are continuing to stay in that sheltered spot, as we are seeing, again, signs of some tornadic damage there. We switch over to the rotation tool. We also kind of see just about whereabouts that could be located within all of this too. As all of that lines up and gives us a really good indication, even on a very turbulent day where we have a lot of wind and rain and things going on, we can kind of see and pinpoint where those tornadoes are within all of that thunderstorm activity. So that is, again, right along the state line heading towards Walworth and Harvard. I believe it's moving at about 45 miles per hour. So if anything, it's moving just to the northeast. I think if anything, it's going to head more towards Lake Geneva and Walworth and away from Harvard itself, but that is something that we will be watching closely as this moves along. So make sure that, again, if you're in southern Wisconsin, if you're into Walworth County, make sure that you're down into that sheltered spot, that basement, as we have that tornadic threat right near Walworth as of this point. Thankfully, it's away from Beloit, it's away from Janesville, so you could probably come out of your shelter as those storms move past you. But again, if you're in Harvard, Walworth, you're still under those warnings currently.
For Rock County, there has been a confirmed tornado located near Milton, moving northeast at about 55 miles an hour. So parts of Rock County, a little bit, looks like the far northeastern corner, right where Alex just pointed, slowly starting to see that. So you could see some of that circulation there on our velocity tool here. So definitely seeing that confirmed tornado in Milton into southern Wisconsin for Rock County. So again, moving at about 55 miles an hour, you could see some of those turbulent features there that Alex is pointing out. So So definitely seeing some of those turbulent winds, a lot of things being uplifted there and thrown around as well.
If anything, this also shows, even if it's not a tornado, there could be some very strong wind gusts within all of this. I think this is where that tornadic activity is. It seems to be lining up with a lot of the other kind of data that we're looking at, but you notice some of these other bright spots near Johnstown. That could be very strong wind gusts kind of associated with all this. But yes, I think that's where that confirmed tornado is, right along Highway 59 towards Milton, and then it'll be approaching Whitewater within the next 30 minutes or so. So that is kind of up next for that particular cell. You can see it's moving out to the north, probably be into Whitewater in about 10 minutes or so. I mean, these storms are moving fast. That doesn't give you a lot of time to get to the sheltered spot as you go throughout the rest of this evening. We've got to take more of a wide look here to see just about where we are when it comes to all of this activity. It's now moved past Janesville, past Beloit. It's heading towards Woodstock and Marengo at this point, and everywhere else in our viewing area. It's been a long night or a long couple hours, but you are now in the clear. Might still be getting some blustery winds as well as some rain, but the big warnings have now moved past us as of this point. You know, if you're kind of along the I-39 corridor and to the west, make sure that you are coming out of your basement at this point. You don't necessarily have to be down into your sheltered spot. We're still monitoring a couple areas into McHenry and Walworth counties when it comes to tornado threats, strong wind threats. Those are the locations that we'll have to, watch closely here over the next 10 minutes or so. So overall, make sure that you are staying weather aware through the rest of this evening because we still could get some blustery winds. So if you go out and start to look around your neighborhood, what happened with all of this. We're still going to have some blustery winds coming in behind all of this activity, so that may still blow some things around. So just make sure that you're being careful, and especially after dark now, you're not going to be able to see debris and things in your path, so be extra careful as you might walk around and start to assess just kind of what went on into your backyard. So overall, we'll continue to keep an eye on some of this activity, but a lot of this is now almost out of Boone County and halfway through McHenry County as of this point. So I just wanted to kind of double check here whereabouts we are when it comes to Lake Geneva and Woodstock. That's right on top of you, so make sure that you are down into that basement. McHenry County not under a tornado warning currently from the looks of it, but you're still going to want to make sure that you're avoiding those very strong winds. You can see how bright they show up on radar, potentially 70 miles per hour or so here, and then that possible tornadic threat right along Interstate 43 heading its way towards north of Lake Geneva. So I think at this point, as this is really starting to exit a lot of the core of our viewing area, we're probably going to wrap up our coverage and then kind of reassess just how the rest of this night will be as a lot of these warnings start to fall off. Now that
County has just been canceled.
Okay. So I think because a lot of our viewing area has now kind of seen a lot of these warnings drop off, and again, there might be still some popping up on the map as you work your way to the northeast of Janesville, but our viewers in Beloit and in Janesville are safe at this point. Same for spots into Boone County. So we will continue to keep a close eye on this. If we do see any other reports, we'll definitely jump in. But at this point, I think the majority of us can kind of rest a little easier for the rest of this evening. Make sure you join us tonight at 10 o'clock because we've got a lot to assess here where we saw potential damage out of these storms, and we'll have updates for you coming up in a couple hours later on tonight at 10 o'clock, plus some wild weather going into the weekend. We've got a whole forecast that we got to update you on, so make sure you join us in a little under 2 hours for 13 News tonight at 10.